You are watching this video, so I am sure you are excited to see what exactly are you going to build today. You are going to build a beautiful restaurant website. We have this great starting section with the navigation bar that contain a logo in the left side and a few navigation link and a button in the right side that collapse on mobile devices. Below that, we have hero section and then amazing meal section that contain beautiful carousel in the left side and amazing content in the right side. As we scroll down, we have two cards, the best ingredients and reservations. Below that, you will notice that our chef section as well as the details of chef, and finally we have a footer. Keep in mind, this website does not have to be just about restaurant website. You can convert it into any other high-end business. This is our home page. We have menu page where you will notice our menu banner. Right below that you will see menu of the day, breakfast, lunchtime list, and then coffee section that contain a beautiful coffee image in the left side and a list of coffee items in the right side. And finally, we have non-alcoholic beverages list. We have delivery page where you can see the banner section, some information, click to add section and a cart button. We have about page where you can see a banner, some information and a beautiful gallery. And finally we have contact page where you can see a banner and a get in touch section in the left side and mail us section in the right side. This is looking great and it is completely responsive. It's going to work for tablets as well as the mobile devices. And it's going to look great on all of them. It almost has that native mobile feel. So let's dive straight into the video. Alright, first of all, we need Node.js. In this course, we are not gonna use Node.js. We need to use npm, which is the Node Package Manager. And in order to use that, we have to have Node.js installed on your system. Just go to nodejs.org, download it and install it. Once you do that, open up the terminal and run this command. npm I, which is short for install, -g, which is short for global, and here is the package we are going to install. Create -react-app. Enter. Now the next thing you need is a code editor. I am gonna use in this course is Visual Studio Code or VS Code because it's a beautiful, lightweight and cross-platform editor. If you don't have it, you can download it from codevisualstudio.com and you can install it. Here is the VS Code. We are gonna use an extension that make it easier to build reactions in VS Code. So open up the extensions panel on the left and search for ES7. Here is the extension I am talking. Now I am going to install it. After that, I am going to create a folder on our desktop. So let's create new folder called restaurant. Now simply I am going to drag and drop this folder. After that, open up the terminal. Let's type npx create -react-app /. Press enter. This will only take a moment. Happy hacking, that means we are ready to go. We can run our application by running npm start. So this will launch our development server on port 3000. And open up Chrome browser. Alright, everything is working properly. Let's go back to our VS Code and see what we have in each folder. So we have 3 folders. Node modules, which is where we have all the third-party libraries as well as React itself. we never have to touch this. We have public folder and we have source folder. I want to go into the app.js, and this is the root app component, and everything you can see here is coming from this component. I am going to delete everything that inside of this div. Also, let's get rid this class name, and for now let's type ready to go. Now save it back in the browser. Now you can see the text. Back to our code. I am going to go ahead and clean up some things that we are not going to be using, just to make it a little bit easier. So I am going to delete app.css, app.test.js, logo.svg, report web vitals.js, setuptest.js. Now I am going to delete them. We also need to make some changes. For example, I am going to delete these lines. Now save it. Let's go into the index.js, get rid these lines. Also, we don't need this line. Now save the changes. Alright, now I am going to create a components folder inside our source folder. We can create a folder by clicking this folder icon, and let's say components. Now I will add another folder inside our components folder called Navbar. Inside our Navbar folder, I will add a navbar.js file. So we can create a JS file by clicking these icons. So let's say navbar.js. This will be the file which we use to actually create our Navbar. Now make sure you install ES7 extension, this one. Back to the navbar.js file, and now I am going to type RAFCE, press enter. It will automatically generate a functional component with the name of the file navbar.js. This is amazing because it reduces your development time and it just makes everything goes a lot faster. Now if I save it, nothing's going to happen because we just created the component but we did not put it into our application. So let's go into our app.js. I am going to import Navbar component. So let's say import Navbar from .components/navbar/navbar. Let's get rid this text and let's say Navbar self-closing tag. Now save the changes back in the browser. Now you can see Navbar text which is coming from here. Before creating Navbar, I am going to do a couple of things. First of all, I am going to create a assets folder inside our source folder. So let's say assets. I am going to drag and drop our assets inside our assets folder that we are going to be using. Below this video in the description there is going to be a GitHub link where you will be able to find the source code and then assets folder. So feel free to just clone this or download this. Now I am going to have a pages folder where our individual pages are going to live. So pages. Let me look our final product. I set them side by side. You can see we have home page, menu page, delivery page, about page and contact page. So I want to create them. Back to our code. I am going to create home folder inside our pages folder. So let's say home and then a home.js file. Let's say home.js file. Now type RAFCE, press enter, save it. Now I want to create menu page. So let's select pages folder. Let's create menu folder and then a menu file. Now type RAFCE, press enter, save it. Let's create delivery page. So let's say delivery and then a delivery file, delivery.js. Type RAFCE, press enter. Now save it. Again let's create about page. So first of all about folder, then about file. Type RAFCE, press enter, save it, and finally contact page. Let's say contact folder, then a contact file. type RAFCE, press enter, save it. Now the next thing is we are going to use two packages in this tutorial. So I am going to install that packages. So open up a new terminal by clicking this plus button and let's type npm I, which is short for install react-icons, and the other package is going to be react-router-dom. Press enter. Now close the terminal. To make sure you install these packages, let's go into our package.json. You can see here is the React icons and here is the React router DOM. Now let's go into our index.js file. Now at the top I'm going to import browser router. So let's say import browser router, and this is coming from React router DOM. I'm going to delete react.stick and let's say browser router. Now save the changes. I want to go into the app.js. At the top let's import React from React, and then let's import routes, route, and these are coming from react-router-dom. Also let's import home component. So let's say import home from /pages/home/home. Below that navbar I'm going to add routes, and inside of that route I'm going to add route self-closing tag, and the route will be the individual page. Let's add a path equal to / which means home page, and we are going to use element equal to curly brackets. Let's say home self-closing tag. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, now you can see home text. That means we have the home page. Now if we go another routes, for example let's say menu, we have not defined menu page yet, but we know that it is not home page, so we would not see the home page down here at the bottom. It will only show if you go to this route right here. Now if we want to show the menu page, we have to create a different routes. Okay, let me show you what I mean. Back to our code, let's import menu page. So let's say import menu from /pages/menu/menu. We can duplicate this line and let's say path/menu, and in here let's say menu. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, let's go to our menu route. So let's say menu. Now you can see menu text, which is coming from here. So this is the things I want you to understand. Hope that makes sense. Now we have menu page and we have home page. And if we go another route, like for example about page, so let's say /about, we are not getting about page because we have not defined an about page yet. And this is kind of the idea of how we define different pages and different routes, and the reason why the navbar appears in every single page like about page, home page, menu page, because a navbar is something that we want to keep in every single page. So that's why we put it on the top. Let me look at the reference design. We also need the footer that we want to keep every single page. So I am going to create footer folder inside our components folder. So let's create footer folder and then footer.js file. Let's type RAFCE, press enter. Now save the changes. Let's go into our app.js. I am going to import footer. So let's say import footer from /components/footer/footer. Now below that routes, let's say footer self-closing tag. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, you can see footer text. Let me look at the reference design. Now we are going to implement our navbar. Essentially, it contains our logo in the left corner and then a few navigation links and a order now button in the right corner. And if we push these things and make our screen smaller, you can see that we have a hamburger menu and a close menu. So we can first import these icons and the logo. So let's go into our navbar.js. At the top right here, let's import curly brackets fa bars, which is hamburger menu, and fa times, which is close menu, and these are coming from react-icons/fa. Below that I am going to import logo image. So import logo from /assets/logo.png. Now let's start creating JS expert. Give it a class name equal to header. We don't need this text, so let's get rid this text. I am going to add on more div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to container. Inside of this div I am going to have another div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to nav-bar. Inside of this div we are going to have an image tag, and this will be the logo, and that image tag is going to have a source equal to logo. Let's also give it an word, which means alternative text, equal to logo. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, you can see our logo. Back to our code, give it a width equal to 50. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, now it's looking better. Now we are going to use a link for our logo. Let me look at the reference design. If we go to our menu page or delivery page, and whenever we click our logo, I want to link back to the home page. So what can we do? We can do is we are going to import link from React Router DOM. So at the top below that, let's import curly brackets link from React-Router-DOM, and I am going to add this link right here, and I am going to add the link to the home page. Below that link I am going to add unordered list. Let's say UL, which stands for an unordered list. Give it a class name equal to nav-menu. Inside it we are going to have some list item, and inside the list items we are going to have our nav link. So let's import the nav link first. So nav link, and right here let's say nav link, and that's going to be the home page, and in here let's say home. Also give it a class name equal to nav-link. We can duplicate this link a few more times, so I'm going to copy and paste that links. The second link is going to be, you can say menu. Let's say here menu. The third link is going to be, let's say delivery. In here let's say delivery. The fourth one is going to be about. Let's say about. And finally contact. In here let's say contact. And below that list item we have a button. So I am going to add a list item, and let's say button order now. Below this UL I am going to add a final div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to hamburger. Inside it let's say close menu, self closing tag, and hamburger menu. Give it a size equal to 20. Also give it a inline style equal to color #FFF. I am going to copy this property and paste it right here. Now save it. Back in the browser. So you see that we have the raw content. Now let's start worrying about the actual design. First, let's use a custom font instead of this browser default Times New Roman. Open up a new tab and visit fonts.google.com, and I am going to search for his name Poppins. Here is the font, and then I will choose regular italic, medium, semi-bold, and finally bold. Now you can click this icon. Let's select import, and I am going to copy this line back to our code. I want to use that custom font globally on my page, so let's go into our index.css. I am going to delete everything, and at the top let's paste this, and below that let's say body curly brackets. I am going to copy this font family and paste it right here. Now save the changes. Back in the browser. I think that looks a lot better. Now we do want to put some CSS into our index.css file, and the CSS that we put inside of this index.css is all the CSS that affects every single page. It's kind of like a global style sheet, or you can say global CSS. So I want to add a few things here. So let's say all box sizing border box. Let's say margin 0, padding 0. Now I am going to add some colors that we are going to be using. You can see I already added some colors that we are going to be using. Now let's remove these bullets and the underline. So let's target the UL tag. So UL curly brackets list dash style dash type none. Below that let's target a tag. Let's say text decoration none. Save the changes. Back in the browser. Nice. Let me look at the reference design. Notice that we have light black background color. So back to our code. Now I am going to add a CSS file inside our Navbar folder. So let's say navbar.css, and this CSS file is only for navbar.js. So at the top I am going to import that CSS file. So import /navbar.css. Now save the changes. First of all, I am going to target header class. So let's go into our navbar.css, and at the top I am going to create a new rule. Let's say .header curly brackets. We can give it a position fixed, give it a width 100%. We can set background or background color RGBA. Let's say border dash bottom 1 pixel solid RGBA, and let's say Z index 9999. Now save the changes. Back in the browser. Now you can see light background color. Let me look at the reference design. We want the navigation links to sit on the same line. Let's worry about having them sit side by side. So how can we make that happen? Well, remember we created a div with a class name of Navbar, and these elements live within that Navbar div. So check this out. Below that I am going to add a new rule .nav-var curly brackets. It's going to have a display set to flex. Give it a align dash items center. Let's say justify content space between, and finally height 90 pixel. Now save the changes. Back in the browser. On our desktop we don't need these icons. So for now let's say .hamburger curly brackets, give it a display none. Now save it. Back in the browser. This is what we wanted. The logo and the nav links are now sitting side by side. So essentially when you tell a parent element to use display flex, it's going to try to align all of its direct children elements to be on a single line. Now that is what we want, write them on a single line. Okay, next we don't want the navigation links to sit one by one. Instead, we want those to sit side by side as well. So check this out. Below that navbar class right here, let's say nav-menu curly brackets display flex. Below that, let's say nav-menu space li curly brackets padding 0 on top and bottom and 15 pixel on left and right. Now save the changes. Nice. I want to add some more CSS. So below that, let's say .nav-menu space .nav-link curly brackets, give it a color var -color -white, and this variable is coming from right here. Below that, let's say font size 20 pixel, give it a font weight 500. Below that, let's focus on hover effect. I'm going to copy this line and paste it right here, and let's say :hover curly brackets, let's say color var -color -primary, and in here let's say transition all 0.2 second is. Now save the changes. Back in the browser. Nice, it is working. Next, let's add some padding horizontally. Back to our code. Let's go into our navbar.js file. You can see we have container class, and I want to reuse this container class. So I am going to add this container class inside our index.css. So below that, let's say .container curly brackets, give it a max dash width 1310 pixel, let's say margin 0 auto, and finally padding 0 on top and bottom and 50 pixel on left and right. Now save it. Let's focus on this button. So below that container class, I am going to add a new rule. Let's say button curly brackets, give it a padding 10 pixel on top and bottom and 20 pixel on left and right. Give it a font size 16 pixel. Let's say text transform capitalize. Let's say font weight 600. Give it a color var -color -white. Let's say background color var -color primary, border none, and finally cursor pointer. Now save it. Back in the browser. Now it's looking better. Let's focus on hover effect. So below that, let's say button :hover curly brackets, let's say opacity 0.9. Now save it. Let's test this out. Nice, it is working. Now let's focus on a small device. So now we can implement the logic for what happens once we click on this hamburger icon. Whenever we click on hamburger icon, it's changing from hamburger icon to close icon. Again, when we click on close icon, it's changing from close icon to hamburger icon. So how can we make that happen? To achieve that, let's go into the navbar.js file. At the top, I am going to import useState. So useState, and let's add that useState right here. So let's say const click set click equal to useState, and at the start it's going to be toggled to false. useState in React allow us to make some dynamic changes when you click something or depending on some kind of parameters. So in this case, the only thing we have to do, if we click the hamburger menu, we want to set toggle menu to be set to true. So in this case, the only thing we have to do, if we click the hamburger icon, we want to set click to be set to true, and if we click right here to close it, we want to set click to be set to false. So at the bottom right here, I am going to add a new dynamic block. JSX is special because it allows us to have some logic. So right here we can say if click is set to true, in that case we are going to show close icon. Otherwise it will show hamburger icons. So like that. And then we are going to add one click equal to handle click. And I am going to add an arrow function right here. Let's say const handle click arrow function, and let's say set click, let's say not click. Now save the changes. Let's go into our navbar.css, and I am going to add media query. So let's say media screen and max dash width 768 pixel curly brackets. Let's say hamburger curly brackets display block and cursor pointer. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, now you can see hamburger menu. Now if I click on hamburger menu, it's changing from hamburger menu to close menu. Again, if we click on close icon, it's changing from close icon to hamburger icon. Nice, so it is working. Next, let's focus on our navigation link and this button. We need to change this position. So back to our code. Inside this media query, I am going to create a new rule. Let's say nav-menu, give it a position absolute. Let's say top 0, left minus 100%, give it a width 100%, let's say height 100 VH, background RGBA, let's say flex direction column, justify content center, align items center, let's say text align center, give it a transition 0.3 second, and finally z index -1. Below that, let's say dot nav dash menu dot active, let's say left 0. Below that class, I am going to add a new rule, nav dash menu space li, let's say padding 15 pixel on top and bottom and 0 on left and right. And finally I am going to add a new rule, let's say nav dash menu space nav dash link curly brackets, let's say font size 30 pixel. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, now I am going to click on hamburger menu. It is not working, so let's check this out. Okay, we have to add this class name, so I'm going to copy active class and let's go into our navbar.js, and in here I'm going to cut this class, and let's say if click is set to true, then class name would be nav menu and active, otherwise only nav menu. And the final thing we have to do is we have to add this function in every single list. So I am going to copy this function and let's add this for the list item. Now save the changes. Back in the browser. Now great, it is working. Now let me look at the reference design. Now we can focus our hero section. Essentially, it contains a beautiful background image and content in the left side. So let's start writing HTML for that. Back to our code. Let's go into our home.js file. Now I am going to create a hero folder inside our home folder. So let's say hero and then a hero.js file. So hero.js and finally hero.css file. So let's go into our hero.js and let's type RAFCE, press enter. Now save the changes. Let's import this hero component inside our home.js file. So let's say import hero from ./hero/hero. Now right here I am going to add hero component, self closing tag. Now save the changes. Let's go into our hero.js file. First I am going to import hero.css file. So import ./hero.css. We don't need this hero text anymore. So let's get rid this and give it a class name equal to hero-img space container. Inside of this div I am going to add one more div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to hero-content. Inside that div I am going to add h1 tag, and that h1 tag is going to have a class name equal to heading-primary. And in here let's say welcome to restaurant. Notice that the welcome text is bold. So I am going to add a span tag. So I am going to cut this text and let's say span, and in here I am going to paste welcome text. Below that h1 tag I am going to add a paragraph, and that paragraph is going to have a class name equal to text-white. I am going to copy this text and in here I am going to paste that. Below that p tag I am going to add one more p tag, and that p tag is going to have a class name equal to text-white. And in here let's say book online or call. You can see this color is different from other paragraph. I am going to copy this number, and here I am going to add a span tag, and in here let's paste that mobile number and give it a class name equal to special-word. Now save it. Back in the browser you can see our raw content. Let's start implementing our CSS. So back to our code. First let's focus on our hero image. So let's go into our hero.css. I am going to create a new role. Let's say hero-img curly brackets. Give it a height 100 vh. Let's say background image // assets pasta.jpg. Below that let's say background repeat, no repeat, background position top, let's say background size cover, and position relative. Now save it. Nice. Now let's focus on our content. I am going to add one more role, hero content curly brackets. Let's say position absolute top 40%. Below that let's say hero-content space p tag. Let's say font size 20 pixel. Now save it. Now we want to reuse some classes like heading primary, text white, special word. So I am going to add this class name globally. So let's go into our index.css. Below that button hover, I am going to add a new rule. Let's say heading dash primary curly brackets. Give it a color var dash dash color dash white. Let's say font size 60 pixel. Let's say font weight 300. Text transform uppercase. Line height 1.1. Padding dash bottom 10 pixel. I am going to copy this class and paste it right below, and then space span curly brackets. Let's say font weight 700. I am going to add a new rule. Let's say special dash word curly brackets. Give it a color var dash dash color primary. Let's say font weight 700. Below that I am going to add one more rule. Let's say text white. Give it a color var dash dash color white. Now we can focus on a smaller device. So I am going to add a media query. So media space screen space and max dash width 768 pixel curly brackets. Let's say container curly brackets. Give it a padding 0 pixel on top and bottom and 20 pixel on left and right. Below that let's say dot heading dash primary curly brackets. Let's say font size 45 pixel. Now save the changes. Back in the browser. Now it's looking great on desktop device and also on mobile device. So our hero section is complete. Let me look at the reference design. Next we can focus on this part and also on this part. So essentially it contains a carousel on the left side and some content on the right side, and below that we have two cards. So let's start writing HTML for that. Back to our code. I am going to have an amazing meal folder inside our home folder. So let's say amazing meal and then amazing meal.js file. Let's say amazing meal.js and then a CSS file amazing meal.css. Let's go into the amazing meal.js file and now type RAFCE. Press enter. Let's import the CSS file. So import /amazingmeal.css. Now save the changes. Let's go into our home.js file. I am going to import amazing meal component. So import amazing meal from /amazingmeal and /amazingmeal. Below that hero component I am going to add that amazing meal component. Now save it. Back in the browser. Now here you can see amazing meal text which is coming from here. Let me look at the reference design. Let's focus on this carousel part. To achieve that we need to use React Slick library. So open up a new tab and search for React Slick npm. Here is the library I am talking. You can see this is very popular library. So I am going to run this command. So I am going to copy this and on the terminal let's open up a new terminal by clicking this plus button and I am going to run this command. It's done. Let's close this command line. Next we need to import the CSS lines. So I'm going to copy this and at the top right here let's paste that line, and below that you can see setting object. So I'm going to copy this and paste it right here. Let's change this constant. I'm going to add some property. Let's say autoplay true, autoplay speed 5000. Now I am going to import some images that we are going to be using. So at the top right here you can see I already import some images that we are going to be using, and then let's import slider from React-Slick, and let's import use state. So use state, and below that right here I'm going to create a use state for the images. So let's say constant items comma set items equal to use state array, and then object, let's say id equal to 1, and then url equal to image1, which is coming from here. Now I am going to duplicate this line a few more times. The second one, let's say id2 image2. The third one is id3 image3. Next id4 image4, and finally id5 image5. And these images are coming from here. Now we can start the JSX part. We don't need this text anymore, and give it a class name equal to section. Inside that div I am going to create one more div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to container. Inside it I am going to add one more div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to amazing dash container. Inside it let's create one more div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to amazing dash carousel. And inside this div I am going to create actual slider image. So let's create a div, and then let's say slider, and then we have to pass this setting object. So let's say curly brackets dot 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 settings, and inside that slider I am going to render these images. So let's create a dynamic block, and then type items dot map item arrow function. Let's create a div and give it a key equal to item dot id. This id is coming from here. Now inside that div I am going to add a image tag, and that image tag is going to have a source equal to item.url, and the world is going to be carousel pic. Again this URL is coming from here. So save the changes. We are getting error, so let's check this out. Back in the browser, to use these CSS files we have to install this line, and we did not install that. So I am going to copy this line back to our code, and I am going to open up a new terminal by clicking this plus button, and let's run this command. Close this terminal. Now we are not getting any error. Back in the browser, now we can see our carousel. It's not looking good because we have not implemented our CSS yet. Let me look at the reference design. Let's focus on this content. Back to our code. Now below this div I am going to add one more div, and that div is going to have a class name amazing dash content. Inside it I am going to create an h2 tag, and that h2 tag is going to have a class name equal to heading dash secondary, and in here let's say amazing meals, and then span tag, and let's say ampersand hashtag 38 and semicolon. Give it a class name equal to ampersand. Let's add a break self closing tag, and then I'm going to create one more span tag, and inside it let's say great, and then break tag, and then let's say entertainment. Below that h2 tag I'm going to add an h4 tag. Let's copy this text and paste it right here. Below that h4 tag I'm going to add a p tag. Let's copy this paragraph and paste it right here, and then inside it let's add a break tag, and on more break tag. Again, let's copy this paragraph, and below that break tag I am going to paste that paragraph. Now below that paragraph I am going to add a block code. Let's copy this block code and paste it right here. Now save the changes. Back in the browser. Now you can see our raw content. Let me look at the reference design. Let's start creating the HTML for this part. So below this div, I am going to add one more div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to amazing-card-container. Inside it, let's create one more div and give it a class name equal to amazing card space amazing card dash left. Inside it I am going to add an image tag, and that image tag is going to have a source image1, and the world is going to be burger, and give it a class name equal to amazing dash card dash image. Below that image tag, let's create a div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to amazing dash card dash title. Inside that div, I am going to add a star icon. So let's import that star icon first. So at the top, I am going to import that star icon. So let's say import bs fill star fill, and that icon is coming from react-icons/bs. Let's copy this icon name, and below that right here I am going to add that icon self closing tag, give it a color equal to #C3512F. Below that star icon I am going to add an h3 tag, let's say the best, and then a span tag, and let's say ingredients. Also give it a class name equal to heading-tertiary. Below this div I am going to add a paragraph. Let's copy this paragraph, and in here I am going to paste that paragraph. Now below this image tag I am going to add one more div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to amazing-card-content. And what I am going to do, I am going to cut this paragraph and also this div, and inside here I am going to paste that. Notice that this card and this card are same. So what can we do? We can copy this div inside our amazing card container, and below that div I am going to paste that. Now we can change some things in here. Let's say right, then the source equal to image2, and the world is going to be cheese. We don't need this text, so let's get rid. And in here let's say reservations. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, you can see our raw content. So let's start implementing our CSS. Back to our code. First I am going to add CSS for section class. So I am going to add that globally. So let's go into our index.css, and above the container class right here I will target that section class. So let's say section curly brackets padding 70 pixel on top and bottom and 0 pixel on left and right. Now save it. First let's focus on this carousel image. Let's go into our amazingmeal.css, and at the top first I am going to target amazing container. So let's say amazing dash container curly brackets. It's going to have a display set to flex gap 5%. Below that let's target amazing dash carousel curly brackets, give it a width 65%. Let's say margin dash bottom 50 pixel. Below that I am going to target carousel images. So let's say amazing dash carousel img curly brackets, give it a width 100%. let's say height 80 ph, give it a border radius 5 pixel. Now save it. Nice. Let me look at the reference design. Let's add this arrow. Below that, let's say dot slick dash prev colon before comma dot slick dash next colon before comma dot slick dash dot space li dot slick dash active space button colon before curly brackets. Let's say color var dash dash color primary and then important. Now save it. Back in the browser. Now you can see the arrow icon. Now let's focus on this content area. Below that, let's target amazing dash content curly brackets, give it a width 30%. Below that, let's say amazing dash content space p curly brackets, give it a padding 20 pixel on top and bottom and 0 pixel on left and right. Now save the changes. Let's go into our amazing meal.js, and below that right here you can see heading secondary, and I am going to add this class inside our global CSS. So let's go into our index.css, and below this heading primary, let's target that class. So let's say heading dash secondary curly brackets, give it a font size 28 pixel, let's say font weight 300, give it a text transform uppercase, let's say line height 1.1. I'm going to copy this class name, and below that I'm going to paste that, and then space span curly brackets, let's say font weight 600. Now save the changes. Now let's focus on text color. So at the top above the section class, let's target the h3, give it a color var dash dash color secondary, let's say font weight text transform uppercase. Below that, let's say h4 comma p comma level curly brackets, give it a color var dash dash color secondary. Below that, let's say h4 curly brackets font weight normal. And finally below that, let's say p comma level curly brackets, let's say font size 13 pixel. Now save the changes. Back in the browser. Now our text is looking great. Let's focus on this ampersand. Let me look at the reference design. We are going to use a different font. So again, open up a new tab and go to fonts.google.com. Notice that we already have Poppins font, and I am going to search for Libra Baskerville. Here is the font we are looking for. I am going to select regular italic and bold. Now let's select import radio button, and I am going to copy this line, and above that right here I am going to delete that, and let's paste our new import font. And make sure you have Libra Baskerville font and also Poppins font. Now let's target the ampersand class. So below that button class, let's target ampersand curly brackets. Let's copy this font family and paste it right here. Give it a font style italic. Let's say color var dash dash color primary. Now save the changes. Back in the browser. Now it's looking good. Let's focus on our block code. Below that right here, let's target block code curly brackets, give it a color var dash dash color secondary, let's say border dash left 7 pixel solid var dash dash color primary, and finally padding dash left 20 pixel. Now save the changes. Now it's looking nice. Let me look at the reference design. Let's focus on this part. Let's go into our amazing meal.css, and below that right here, let's say dot amazing dash cart dash container curly brackets, give it a display flex gap 5%, and let's say padding dash top 50 pixel. I am going to create a new rule, amazing dash card curly brackets, give it a width 30%. Below that, let's say dot amazing card dash image curly brackets, give it a width 100%, let's say height auto, and finally border dash radius 5 pixel. Let's focus card title, so let's say amazing card dash title curly brackets, give it a display flex, align items center and gap 10 pixel. And finally below that let's target the paragraph, so let's say amazing card dash content space p curly brackets, let's say padding dash top 10 pixel. Now save the changes, back in the browser. Now it's looking great. Let me look at the reference design. You can see we have a special word, so I'm going to add that globally. So let's go into our index.css. So below that right here we can say dot heading dash tertiary curly brackets, give it a font size 20 pixel, let's say font weight 300, text transform capitalize. Below that let's say dot heading dash tertiary space span curly brackets, let's say font weight 700 and color var dash dash color primary. Now save the changes, back in the browser. Now it's looking great. Now let's focus on small screen. On our small screen we have to fix some issue, so let's go into our amazingmeal.css and we can fix that issue by adding media query. Let's say media space screen and max width 768 pixel curly brackets, let's target amazing container curly brackets, give it a flex direction column. Below that let's say dot amazing dash carousel curly brackets, give it a width 100%, let's say adding 0 on top and bottom and 10 pixel on left and right. Below that let's say dot amazing dash content curly bracket, a width I'm going to target amazing card container, so let's say amazing dash card dash container curly brackets, give it a flex direction column. Below that let's say amazing dash card curly brackets, give it a width 100%. Below that let's say dot amazing card dash left curly brackets, give it a margin dash bottom 20 pixel. Now save the changes, back in the browser. Now it's looking great on our mobile device and also on our tablet device. So our amazing meal section is complete. Let me look at the reference design. Now let's focus on this section and also on this area. Let's create a folder inside our home page called our chef and then a JS file. Let's say our chef.js and then a CSS file, our chef.css. Let's go into our chef.js file and type RAFCE, press enter. Now save the changes. Let's go into our home.js file. I'm going to import our chef component, so let's say import our chef dot slash our chef slash our chef, and below that amazing meal component I am going to add our chef component. Now save the changes, back in the browser. Now you can see our chef text which is coming from here. In this section we have our chef image, a content area, and below that we have chef's name and their description. So let's start writing HTML for that. First let's import the CSS file. So above right here let's import dot slash our chef.css. Get rid this text, we don't need this anymore. I am going to create a new div and that div is going to have a class name equal to chef-img. Inside that div I am going to add one more div and that div is going to have a class name equal to container. Inside it, let's add a one more div. Give it a class name equal to save-content. Inside it, I am going to add an h1 tag. Give it a class name equal to heading-primary. In here, let's say hour and then a span tag save. Below that h1 tag, I am going to add a paragraph, and that paragraph is going to have a class name equal to text-white. Let's copy this paragraph and in here paste it. Now below this save image div, I am going to add save info. So below that, let's say div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to container. Inside it, let's create a new div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to grid-container space py-md. Inside it, I will add one more div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to grid-item space save-info. Inside it, let's add an h3 tag, and that h3 tag is going to have a class name equal to heading-tertiary, and in here let's say Marcus and then span tag, and in here col. Below that h3 tag, I am going to add an h4 tag, and let's say grill chef. Below that h4 tag, I am going to add a paragraph. Let's copy this paragraph and paste it right here. You can see these content are similar. So what can we do? We can just copy this div, and below that div we can paste 3 more times. And then let's change this info. So let's say here Lisa call, and then executive chef. Let's copy this paragraph and paste it right here. Below that, let's change this name. Also the designation and the paragraph. Let's change the last one. Let's change the name Alex Dear, and then source save. I'm going to copy this paragraph and paste it right here. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, you can see our raw content. Let's start styling. Back to our code. Let's go into the oursave.css. At the top, I am going to create a new rule, save image, curly brackets, give it a background image, url // assets save.png. Below that, let's say background repeat, no repeat. Below that, background position center. Let's say background size cover. Below that, let's say height 85 vh, and then position relative. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, let's focus on this content area. Back to our code. Below that, I am going to create a new rule, save-content, curly brackets. Let's say position absolute, bottom 5%, give it a padding 10 pixel. Let's say background color var -- color primary. Below that, I am going to create a new rule, save-info space h4 curly brackets. Let's say text transform uppercase. And finally, below that, let's style for the paragraph. Let's say save info space p curly brackets, give it a padding top 10 pixel. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, Now it's looking great. Let's focus on this content area. Let's go into the ourself.js file. Notice that we have grid container py-md grid item classes. So I am going to add them globally. So let's go into our index.css, and right here I am going to create a new rule. Let's say grid container curly brackets, give it a display :grid template columns, repeat auto dash fit, comma min max 200 pixel, comma on fr. Below that let's say gap 30 pixel. Below that rule I am going to create one more rule dot py-md curly brackets, give it a padding 50 pixel on top and bottom and 0 on left and right. Now save the changes. Back in the browser. Okay, it's not working properly, so let's check this out. Back to our code. Let's go into the ourself.js, and in here we don't need this div, so let's get rid this div and also this div. Below that let's remove this div, and finally let's remove this div also, and I am going to cut this div, that means the grid items, and inside the grid container and below this div I am going to paste these divs. So now I think that would be working, so save the changes. Back in the browser. Now it's looking great. Let's check on our mobile and tablet devices. On our tablet device it's looking great. Also on our mobile device it's looking great. So the ourself section is complete. Let me look at the reference design. Now let's focus on this footer area. Back to our code. Now we can work on our footer.js file. So let's go into our components folder and then footer folder and then footer.js file. Let's create a CSS file for footer.js file. So let's say footer.css, and then we can import this CSS file inside our footer.js file. So import ./footer.css. Below that let's import link from React-router DOM. We don't need this text anymore, so let's delete that and give it a class name section space footer. Inside it I am going to add one more div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to container. Inside it let's add one more div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to grid-container. I will add one more div and give it a class name equal to footer-grid-item, and inside it I am going to add an h3 tag, and let's copy this text and paste it right here. Let's add a p tag, copy this line and paste it right here. Below that let's add one more p tag, copy this line and paste it right. Below that let's add a p tag for the mobile number. Let's copy this mobile number and paste it right here. Below that p tag I am going to add a link. Let's copy this link and paste it right here. And right here let's say to equal to hashtag and give it a class name equal to text-y. Let's copy footer grid item and below that paste it 3 more times. And let's change this text. You can see I already changed this text. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, it's already looking good. Let's add some CSS. Let's go into our footer.css. I'm going to create a new rule. Let's say footer curly brackets, give it a background color, var dash dash color dash tertiary. Now save it. Great. You can see our tertiary color. Below that, I am going to add a new rule, footer dash grid dash item, and then colon n dash child to curly brackets. That means this child. So let's say padding dash top 10 pixel. I am going to copy this class and paste it right here, and in here let's say 3 curly brackets. That means this child. Let's say padding dash bottom 10 pixel. Now save the changes. Back in the browser. Now it's looking great. Now I want to show you one thing. Let me look at the reference design. I want to scroll this page. Now you can see our background color of the navbar is changing. Again, notice that I am going to scroll this page. You can see our background color is changing. So how can we make that? Well, let's go into our navbar.js file. I am going to create a use state. So constant color comma set color equal to use state. For now let's say false, and then we can say window dot add event listener. Let's say scroll property, and I am going to add a function named change color. So now let's create this function. Above right here, let's say const change color equal to arrow function. Let's say if window dot scroll y greater than equal to 100, then set color true. Otherwise set color false. Now at the very first div, I am going to add a logic. Let's say curly brackets. If the color is true, then class name would be header space header dash bg. Otherwise class name would be only header. Now save the changes, and let's add this header dash bg class name inside our navbar.css. So below that header class, I am going to create a new rule. Let's say header dash bg curly brackets, give it a background color RGBA, and then transition 0.5 second. Now save the changes. Let's test this out. I am scrolling. Now it is working. Notice that again. It's working. Very nice. And in this position, our home page is complete. Now we can focus on our menu page. Let me look at our reference design. I am going to click on menu page. First, we can focus on our hero section. Let's start writing HTML for that. Back to our code. I am going to have a hero image folder inside our components folder. So let's say hero image, and then a hero image file. Type RAFCE. Press enter, save the changes. Let's create a CSS file, hero image.css, and I am going to import this CSS file inside our hero image.js file. So let's say import /hero image.css. Now save the changes. Let's go inside our pages folder and then menu page. I am going to import hero image component. So let's say import hero image from /components /hero image. Let's import this background image. So import bg image from /assets/coffee.jpg. We don't need this text anymore, so I'm going to remove this text, and inside this div I am going to import hero image component, and I am going to pass some properties and values. bg image equal to bg image. Let's say heading equal to curly brackets and then square brackets, and let's say our space comma span tag, and in here let's say menu. Below that I'm going to pass text property equal to, let's copy this text and paste it right here. Now save the changes. Now we can cache these properties by writing props. So in here, let's say props. Let's get rid this text and give it a class name equal to container. I'm going to add inline style. So style equal to background colon backtick URL parenthesis and then $ curly brackets. Let's say props.pg image. Let's say no repeat bottom and then center / cover. And then let's say height 60 VH. Back in the browser. Now you can see our background image. Back to our code. Inside this div, I am going to add one more div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to banner-content. Inside this div, I am going to have an h1 tag, and that h1 tag is going to have a class name equal to heading-primary. And in here, let's say curly brackets props.heading. Below that h1 tag, I am going to add a p tag. And in here, let's say curly brackets props.text. Give it a class name equal to text-white. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, let's add some style. Back to our code. Let's go into our hero image.css, and at the top I am going to add a new rule .banner-content curly brackets. Give it a height 100%. Let's say display flex. Give it a flex direction column, and finally justify content center. Now save the changes. Now it's looking great. Let me look at the reference design. Now we can focus on this area. Let's start writing HTML for that. Back to our code. I am going to have a new folder inside our menu folder. So let's say menu of the day and then a JS file. So let's say menu of the day.js and then a CSS file. So menu of the day.css. Let's go into our menu of the day.js file and type RAFCE. Press enter. Save the changes. Let's go into our menu.js file, and below that hero image component, I am going to import menu of the day component. So let's say menu of the day. Press enter. You can see it is already imported. Let's add self-closing tag. Save the changes. You can see menu of the day text, which is coming from here. Notice that in here we have a heading and list items. So what can we do? We can make a list item components. So first I am going to create a list item components inside our components folder. So let's say list item and then a JS file and a CSS file. Let's go into our list item.js file and type RAFCE. Press enter. Let's import CSS file. So import ./list item.css. Give it a class name for this div. So class name equal to list-items. Inside this div I am going to add an unordered list. So ul and then list item. I am going to pass some properties. So let's say props, or we can destruct properties. So let's say title, description, price, item, image. And I am going to add some logic inside our list item. So let's say curly brackets. If item image, then image tag would be render. And that image tag is going to have a source equal to item image, and alt is going to be hero. Below that I am going to add a div, and inside that div I am going to add h3 tag, and in here let's say curly brackets and then title. Below that let's say if description then paragraph, and let's say curly brackets description. And finally below that div I am going to add an h3 tag, and in here let's say $, curly brackets and then price. Now save the changes. Let's go into our menu of the day.js file. First at the top, let's import list item. So import list item component list item, and then I'm going to import css file. So let's say import.menu of the day.css, and then let's import images that we are going to be using. So image1 from assets/burger.jpg. Again let's import image2 from assets/cheese.jpg. Now I am going to import list items data. You can see I already imported list items data. So let's start writing JS expert. I am going to get rid this text, give it a class name section. Inside this div, I am going to add one more div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to container space menu dash of dash the day. Inside it, let's say h1 and give it a class name equal to heading dash secondary, and in here let's say span menu and then space, and right here let's say of the day. Below that h1 tag, let's say curly brackets menu data, which is coming from here dot map, and then let's say data comma I, which is short for index, arrow function. Let's add the list items, and then I am going to pass some properties. So let's say title equal to data dot title. Let's say description equal to data dot description. Again price equal to data dot price, and finally item image equal to data.img. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, you can see our raw content. Let's add some CSS. Back to our code. Let's go into our menu of the day.css file. I am going to add a new rule .menu dash of dash the dash day space h1 curly brackets, text align center, padding bottom 25 pixel. Now save the changes. Let's go into our list item.css. I will target list items. So let's say list dash items curly brackets, margin auto, maximum width 800 pixel. Below that I am going to target unordered list. So let's say list items space ul width 100%. Below that I am going to target list item. So I am going to copy this property and paste it right here, and then space li curly brackets, display flex, padding 10 pixel on top and bottom and 5 pixel on left and right. Let's say border bottom 1 pixel dash hashtag EBE8E2. Below that I am going to target h3 tag. So let's copy this class and paste it right here, space h3 curly brackets, margin left auto. Below that let's say list items space image tag curly brackets, give it a width 50 pixel. Let's say height 50 pixel. Let's say border radius 50%, and finally margin right 15 pixel. Save the changes. Back in the browser, now it's looking great. Let me look at the reference design. Now we can focus on this section. Back to our code, I will have a breakfast folder inside our menu folder. So let's create a breakfast folder, and then a breakfast.js file, again a CSS file. Let's go into our breakfast.js file and type RAFCE. Press enter. Save the changes. Let's import CSS file. So import ./breakfast.css. Now save it. Let's go into our menu.js file. I am going to import breakfast component. So let's say import breakfast from dot slash breakfast slash breakfast. Now below that menu of the day component, I am going to add breakfast component. Self closing tag, save the changes. Back in the browser, you can see breakfast text. Back to our code, let's go into our breakfast.js file. Let me look at the reference design. Notice that we have list items and some data in the left side and right side. So we are going to import list item component and the data for the left side and the right side. Back to our code. First, I am going to import list item. So import list item from dot dot slash components slash list item slash list item. Now I am going to import data. You can see I already imported data for the left side and for the right side. So let's start creating the JS export. Let's read this text, give it a class name equal to container space breakfast. Inside this div I am going to have an h1 tag, and that h1 tag is going to have a class name equal to heading dash secondary. And in here let's say break and then span tag first. Below that h1 tag I am going to have one more div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to grid dash container. Inside this div I am going to have one more div, and I am going to add a logic for menu data left. So let's say menu data left, which is coming from here. And then let's say dot map data comma I, which is short for index, arrow function. Now in here let's say list item self closing tag, and in here I am going to pass title property equal to data.title. Let's pass description. So description equal to data.description, and finally price equal to data.price. Now I am going to copy this div, and below that div I am going to paste right here. Now let's change this menu data left. Let's say menu data right. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, it's already looks great. Let's fix the position of this title. Let's go into our breakfast.css, and at the top I am going to have a new rule dot breakfast space h1 curly brackets text align center padding bottom 25 pixel. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, now it's looking great. Let me look at the reference design. Now we can focus on this area. Notice that this area and this area are same. So what can we do? We can just copy this area and paste it right here. Back to our code. First I am going to have a lunchtime folder inside our menu folder. So let's say lunchtime and then lunchtime.js file, and finally a CSS file. So lunchtime.css. Let's go into our lunchtime.js file and type RAFCE, press enter. Let's import the CSS file. So import ./lunchtime.css. Now save the changes. Let's go into our menu.js file, and below that I am going to add lunchtime component. So let's say lunchtime self closing tag. Don't forget to import that lunchtime component above right here. So let's import lunchtime ./lunchtime/lunchtime. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, now you can see lunchtime text. Back to our code. Let's go into our lunchtime.js file. First I am going to import list item. So let's go into our breakfast.js file, and above right here I am going to copy this list item and paste it right here. Now let's import the metadata. You can see I already added the metadata. Now we can start JS Expert. So I am going to remove this lunchtime text and give it a class name equal to section. Let's go into our breakfast.js file and I am going to copy the whole JS Expert. So let's copy this div and inside this section div I am going to paste right here. Now I am going to change some things in here. Let's say lunch-time. Now save the changes. Let's go into our lunchtime.css and above right here I am going to create a new rule dot lunch-time space h1 curly brackets. Let's say text align center padding bottom 25 pixel. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, it's looking great. Let's change this text. Let's go into our lunchtime.js and in here let's say lunch and then time. Now save it. Back in the browser, now it's looking great. Let me look at the reference design. Now we can focus on this part. First, I am going to have coffee selection folder inside our menu folder. So let's say coffee selection. Let's create a JS file. So coffee selection.js file and then a CSS file. So coffee selection.css file. Let's go into our coffee selection.js file and above here let's type RAFCE, press enter. Let's import the CSS file. So import./coffee selection.css. Now save the changes. Let's go into our menu.js file. Let's import the coffee selection.js file. So import coffee selection from /coffee selection/coffee selection. Below that I am going to add coffee selection component. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, you can see coffee selection text. Back to our code. Let's go into our coffee selection.js file. I am going to import list item and this image. So above that right here, let's import list item from /components/list item/list item. Below that, let's say import coffee image from /assets/coffee-items.jpg. Below that, let's import metadata. You can see I already added the metadata. Let's start the JS Expert. Give it a class name equal to container space coffee-selection. Inside this div, I am going to add an h1 tag and that h1 tag is going to have a class name equal to heading-secondary. Inside it, let's say coffee and then span tag, let's say selection. Below that h1 tag I am going to have on more div and that div is going to have a class name equal to breed-container. Inside this div I am going to have on more div and inside it I am going to have an image tag and that image tag is going to have a source equal to coffee image and the world is going to be coffee items. Below that div I am going to have on more div and let's create a logic. Let's say curly brackets menu data right, which is coming from here, and then dot map parenthesis, let's say data comma I arrow function, and then inside it let's say list item self closing tag. Inside it I am going to pass title equal to data dot title. Let's say description equal to data dot description, and finally price equal to data dot price. Save the changes. Let's add some style. So let's go into our coffee selection.css file and above that right here I am going to create a new rule dot coffee dash selection space h1 tag curly brackets. Give it a text align center. Let's say padding bottom 25 pixel. below that rule I am going to create one more rule, coffee selection space img curly brackets, give it a width 100%, let's say height auto, and finally border radius 5 pixel. Now save the changes. Back in the browser we cannot see the image, so let's check this out. Let's go into our coffee selection.js file, and in here let's change this src. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, now you can see the image. Let me look at the reference design. Now let's focus on this area. First I am going to create a beverage folder inside our menu folder. So let's say beverage and then a JS file, so beverage.js file, and then a CSS file, so beverage.css. Let's go into our beverage.js file and let's type RAFCE, press enter. Let's import the CSS file, so import./beverage.css. Now save the changes. Let's go into our menu.js file. I am going to import beverage file, so import beverage from ./beverage/beverage, and below that I am going to add beverage component, so beverage self-closing tag. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, now you can see beverage text which is coming from here. Let's import list item, so I am going to copy list item from here and let's paste this right here. Let's import the metadata. You can see I already imported metadata, so metadata left, metadata middle, and metadata right. Let's start the JSX part. Give it a class name equal to section. Inside this div I am going to add one more div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to container space beverage. Inside it I am going to add an h1 tag, and that h1 tag is going to have a class name equal to heading dash secondary. Inside it let's say non-alcoholic and then span tag, and in here let's say space beverage. Below that h1 tag I am going to have one more div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to grid-container. Inside it let's create one more div and a logic, so curly brackets menu data left dot map parenthesis data comma I arrow function. Let's go into our coffee selection.js, and I am going to copy list item from here and then I am going to paste it right here. Don't forget to add key property equal to I. Now I am going to copy this div, and below that right here I am going to paste that, and let's change this middle, and below that div I am going to paste one more time, and in here let's say metadata right. Now save the changes. Let's go into our beverage.css and let's type beverage space h1 tag curly brackets. Let's say text align center, padding bottom 25 pixel. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, now it's looking great. Let's check this for the small devices, and you can see for the small device it's also looking great. So in this position our menu page is complete. Let me look at the reference design. Now we can focus on our delivery page. Let's go into our menu.js file. I am going to copy these lines, and then let's go into our delivery.js file, and above right here I am going to paste these lines. Again back to our menu.js file, I am going to copy this line and paste it right here. Let's change this image name, let's say cake, and the heading it at. In here let's say home. Let's copy this line and paste it right here. Now save the changes. Let's go into our app.js file Now we have to add delivery route. So I am going to import delivery.js file. So let's say import delivery from .pages/delivery/delivery. Let's duplicate this route, and in here let's say path equal to /delivery. Let's copy this delivery and paste it right here. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, now you can see hero image. Let me look at the reference design. Now we can focus on this area. Essentially it contains two columns, a headline, a star icon, and a paragraph. So let's start creating HTML for that. Back to our code. Let's go into our delivery page. Now I am going to have a folder called delivery info. So let's create delivery info and then a JS file. So deliveryinfo.js and a CSS file, deliveryinfo.css. Let's go into our deliveryinfo.js file and now type RAFCE. Press enter, save the changes. Let's go into our delivery.js file. I am going to import delivery info component. So import delivery info from ./deliveryinfo/delivery info, and below that hero image component I am going to add this delivery info component. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, now you can see delivery info text which is coming from here. I am going to import star icon. So let's say import bs fill star fill, which is coming from react-icons/bs. Let's get rid this text, give it a class name equal to section space delivery info. Inside this div I am going to have one more div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to container. Inside it let's have a div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to read-container. Inside it let's have a div for the left side, and then inside it let's add a new div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to delivery-icon box. Let's add that icon. So bs fill star fill. Let's change this D and also here self closing tag, give it a color equal to #C35on2F. Below that star icon I am going to have h3 tag, give it a class name equal to heading-tertiary. Inside it let's say order with span tag WooCommerce. Below this div I am going to have a paragraph. So let's type p tag. I am going to copy this paragraph and paste it right here. Now let's copy this entire div and paste it right below. Let's change this additional information. Now save the changes. Let's go into our deliveryinfo.css, and above here I am going to create a new rule .delivery-icon box curly brackets. Let's say display flex, align items center, gap 10 pixel, padding bottom 10 pixel. Now save the changes. Let's import this CSS file inside deliveryinfo.js file. So above right here let's say import ./deliveryinfo.css. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, now it's looking great. Let me look at the reference design. Now we can focus on this area. Let's create a new folder inside our delivery folder, and let's say add to cart. Let's create a JS file, add to cart.js, and a CSS file, add to cart.css. Let's go into our add to cart.js file. Now type RAFCE, press enter, save the changes. Let's go into our delivery.js file. First let's import add to cart component. So import add to cart from add to cart / add to cart, and below that delivery info component I am going to add to cart component. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, now you can see add to cart text. Back to our code, let's go into our add to cart.js file. I am going to import list item, so let's say import list item from components /list item. Now let's import the CSS file, import /coffee to cart.css. Now I am going to import metadata. You can see I already imported the images and the metadata. Let's start the JS export. Let's get rid this text, give it a class name equal to container space add to cart. Inside it I am going to add h1 tag, and that h1 tag is going to have a class name equal to heading dash secondary. Inside it let's say span tag, and in here let's say click space to add to cart. Below that h1 tag I am going to have on more div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to grid dash container. Inside it let's say div, and then I am going to add a logic, let's say curly brackets menu data left dot map parenthesis data comma I arrow function. Let's add the list item, and in here let's add title equal to data dot title, description equal to data dot description, price equal to data dot price, and finally item image equal to data dot img. Let's copy this div, and below this div paste it right here, and let's change this menu data right. Now save the changes. Below this div I am going to add on more div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to add to cart dash btn. Inside it I am going to have an h1 tag, and that h1 tag is going to have a class name equal to heading dash secondary, and in here let's say span tag ru done. Below this h1 tag I am going to have a button tag, and let's say saw cart ampersand checkout. Let's go into our add to cart.css, and above that I am going to add a new rule, add to cart space h1 curly brackets, let's say text align center, padding bottom 25 pixel. Below that I am going to add on more rule, add to cart dash btn curly brackets, let's say text align center, padding 50 pixel on top and bottom and 0 pixel on left and right. Save the changes. Also save this JS file. Back in the browser, now you can see our click to add to cart section, and it's looking great. Let me check for the small devices, and on our small device it's also looking great. So in this position our delivery page is complete. Let me look at the reference design. Now we can focus on our about page. Back to our code, let's go into our menu.js file. I am going to copy these lines. Let's go into our about.js file, and above right here I am going to paste these lines. Again let's go into our menu.js file. I am going to copy hero image component, and then I am going to paste inside this div. Let's change this, let's say burger. In here let's say about us, give it a class name equal to ampersand, and then in here let's say ampersand, and then comma, let's say photo gallery. Let's copy this text and paste it right here. Now save the changes. let's go into our app.js file. I am going to import about page. So let's import about from .pages/about/about. Let's duplicate this line, and in here let's say about and then about component. Now save the changes. Back in the browser. Now you can see our hero image and the content. Let me look at the reference design. Now let's focus on this area. Essentially it contains two columns, and each column contains heading, subheading and description. So let's start writing HTML for that. Back to our code. Let's create about info folder inside our about folder. Let's say about info and then a JS file. So about info.js and a CSS file about info.css. Let's go into our about info.js file. Above right here, let's type RAFCE, press enter, save the changes. Let's go into our about.js file. First let's import about info.js file. So import about info from ./about info/about info. Below this hero image component, I am going to add about info component. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, you can see about info text. Back to our code, let's go about info.js file. Let's import CSS file. So import ./about info.css. We don't need this text anymore, so let's get rid this text. Give it a class name equal to section. Let's add a new div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to container space grid dash container. Inside this container div, I am going to add on more div, and then on more div. Give it a class name equal to about dash info dash content. Inside this div, I am going to have an h2 tag, and that h2 tag is going to have a class name equal to heading dash secondary. Inside this h2 tag, let's say a few words and then span tag about us. Below this h2 tag, I am going to have an h4 tag. Let's copy this line and paste it right here. Below that, I am going to add a paragraph. So let's say p tag. I am going to copy this paragraph and paste it right here. You can see we have two special words. So let's create these special words. I am going to cut these classical words, and I am going to add a span tag and paste it right here. Give it a class name equal to special word. Let's copy this span tag and paste it right here. Let's cut this one and paste it right here. Below that paragraph, we are going to create a block code. So let's say block code. Let's copy this block code and paste it right here. Below this block code, I am going to add on more paragraph. Let's copy this paragraph and paste it right here. We have on special word, so let's add a span tag. I am going to cut this word and paste it right here, and finally give it a class name equal to special dash word. Now save the changes. Now I am going to copy this div, and below that div I am going to paste that div, and let's change the content. Let's copy this text and paste it right here. I'm going to copy this one and paste it right here. Let's copy this subtitle and paste it right here. Let's copy this paragraph and paste it right here. Let's copy this span tag and paste it here. I'm going to copy this text and paste it right here. Let's copy this block code and paste it right here. And finally, let's copy this paragraph and paste it right here. Now save the changes. Let's go into our aboutinfo.css, and at the top I am going to add a new rule .aboutinfo content space p curly brackets, padding 20 pixel on top and bottom and 0 pixel on left and right. Save the changes. Back in the browser. Now it's looking great. Let me look at the reference design. Now we can focus on our data. Let's create our data folder inside our about folder. So let's say our data and then a JS file, so our data.js, and a CSS file, so our data.css. Let's go into our data.js and type RAFCE, press enter, save the changes. Let's go into our about.js file. I am going to import our data component, so import our data from /our data/our data. Below this about info component, I am going to paste about data component. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, you can see our data text. Let's go into our data.js file. I am going to import CSS file, so let's say import /our data.css. Give it a class name equal to container space our dash data. Get rid this text. Let's create a new div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to grid dash container, and inside this div I am going to have on more div, and inside it let's create an h1 tag, let's say 17, and below that h1 tag I am going to add a paragraph, let's say years of experience. I am going to copy this div and paste it right here, and let's change this 34, and in here let's say team members. Again let's paste on more div, and then for dishes, and then for wines. Now save the changes. Let's go into the our data.css, and above right here I am going to create a new rule, our data curly brackets, text align center, padding bottom 50 pixel. Now save the changes. Back in the browser. Now it's looking great. Let me look at the reference design. Now we can focus on our gallery area. Back to our code. Let's have a new folder inside our about folder. Let's say gallery, and then a JS file, gallery.js, and a CSS file, gallery.css. Let's go into our gallery.js file and type RAFCE, press enter, save the changes. Let's go into our about.js file. I am going to import gallery component, import gallery from ./gallery/gallery. Below this our data component, I am going to add gallery component. Now save the changes. You can see gallery text which is coming from here. Let's import CSS file, so import ./gallery.css. I am going to import gallery images. You can see I already imported gallery images which we are going to be using. Let's start creating JS export. Give it a class name equal to gallery. Inside this div I am going to add figure tag, and that figure tag is going to have a class name equal to gallery __ item space gallery __ item -1. Inside this figure tag I am going to add an image tag, and that image tag is going to have a source equal to image item 1, and the word is going to be gallery image 1. Give it a class name equal to gallery __ img. Let's copy this figure tag and paste it right below, And let's change this gallery item to gallery image to image item 2. Now we are going to do same things for image item 3, 4, 5 and so on. So let's do that. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, now you can see our images. Let's implement our CSS. Let's go into our gallery.css file. First I am going to target gallery class, so dot gallery curly brackets. Let's say display grid template rows repeat 4,15 VW. Below that let's say grid template columns repeat 5, on FR. Let's say grid gap 5 pixel. Below that I am going to target gallery image, so let's say gallery __ img width 100%, height 100%. Below that let's target dot gallery __ item -1 curly brackets. Let's say grid dash row 1/span 1. Let's say grid column 1/span 1. Let's do that for gallery item 2, gallery item 3, 4 and 5, gallery item 6, 7 and 8, and finally gallery item 9 and 10. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, now it's looking great. Let me look at the reference design. Now we can focus our contact page. Back to our code. Let's go into our about.js file. I am going to copy these lines. Let's go into our contact.js file, and above right here I am going to paste these lines. Again, let's go into our about.js file. Let's copy this component. Back to our contact.js file. I am going to paste hero image component inside this div. Let's change this image. Let's say cheese2. In here let's say contact. Let's remove this photo gallery text, and in here let's say us. Let's copy this paragraph and paste it right here. Now save the changes. Let's go into our app.js file. I am going to import contact page, so import contact from .pages/contact/contact. Let's duplicate this line, and in here let's say path equal to contact. I am going to copy this contact and paste it right here. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, let's go to our contact page, and you can see our hero image and the content. Let's change this text. Let's go into our contact.js file. I am going to delete this class name. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, now it's looking great. Let me look at the reference design. Now we can focus on this area. Essentially it contains two columns, left and right. In the left side we have a title, a paragraph, then a image, and finally two paragraphs. And in the right side we have contact form. So let's start creating HTML for that. Back to our code. I am going to create a contact form folder inside our contact folder. So let's say contact form, then a JS file. Let's say contact form.js, and a CSS file. Let's say contact form.css. Let's go into our contact form.js file. Now type RAFCE, press enter, save the changes. Let's import CSS file, import ./contact form.css. Now save the changes. Let's go into our contact.js file. Let's import contact form. So import contact form from ./contact form/contact form. Below that hero image component, I am going to add contact form component. Now save the changes. You can see contact form text which is coming from here. First, I am going to import an image which we are going to be using. So import bg image from /assets/cake.jpg. Let's get rid this text. Give it a class name equal to section. Inside this div, I am going to add one more div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to container space grid dash container space contact dash content. Inside this div, let's have a div, and inside this div I am going to add an h1 tag, and that h1 tag is going to have a class name equal to heading dash secondary. Inside it, let's say get in, then span tag, and in here let's say touch. Below this h1 tag I am going to add a paragraph. Let's copy this paragraph and paste it right here. I am going to cut this word and let's say span tag and paste it right here. Give it a class name equal to special word. Below this paragraph, let's create a image tag, and that image tag is going to have a source equal to bg image, and the word is going to be get in touch. Below that image tag I am going to add a paragraph. Let's copy this paragraph and paste it right here. I am going to cut this word and let's say span tag and paste it right here. Let's copy this class name and paste it for this span tag. Below this paragraph I am going to add one more paragraph. Let's copy this paragraph and paste it right here. Let's copy this span tag for the special word and paste it right here. I am going to cut this word and paste it right here. Now below this div I am going to add one more div for the right side, and inside this div I am going to have h1 tag. Give it a class name equal to heading dash secondary, and in here let's say mail span tag us. Below this h1 tag I am going to create a form. Let's say form tag, and inside this form tag I am going to have a div, and that div is going to have a class name equal to form dash field space name dash email. Inside it let's have a div, and inside this div let's have a label, and in here let's say name. Below this label I am going to add input tag, and the type is going to be text and name equal to name. I am going to copy this div for the email and paste it right below, and let's change label email, type email, name email. Let's copy this entire div and paste it below. Let's get rid this class name. We don't need this div anymore. And in here let's say subject name equal to subject. Let's copy this div and paste it right below. In here let's say message. Let's change this text area, name equal to message. And finally below this form tag I am going to add a button. Let's say submit. Now save the changes. Back in the browser, now you can see our raw content. Let's start implementing CSS. Back to our code, let's go into our contact form.css, and above right here I am going to add a new rule, contact dash content space h1 tag. Give it a padding bottom equal to 20 pixel. Below this rule I am going to target p tag, so let's say contact content space p tag curly brackets, padding 10 pixel on top and bottom and 0 pixel on left and right. Below that let's target image tag, so contact content img curly brackets with 100%, height 200 pixel, border radius 5 pixel. Below that let's target form field curly brackets, padding bottom 20 pixel. Below that, let's target input field. So form field space input and text area. So comma dot form field space text area curly brackets. Let's say width 100%. Give it a padding 10 pixel. Let's say border 1 pixel solid hashtag #CCC. Below that, let's say outline none, and finally font size 20 pixel. Below that, let's target text area. So form field text area curly brackets. Let's say height 200 pixel. Below that, let's target label form field space label curly brackets. Let's say font size 14 pixel. Below that, I am going to create a new rule form space dot name dash email curly brackets. Give it a display flex justify content space between gap 20 pixel. Below that, I am going to create a new rule form dot name email space deep curly brackets. Let's say width 50%. Now save the changes. Back in the browser. Now it's looking great. Let's take a look for the mobile devices, and on our mobile devices it's also looking great. And in this position our contact page is complete. Let me look at the reference design. You can see we have active color. To achieve that, back to our code. Let's go into our navbar.css, and in here let's say comma dot active, and then let's add important. Now save the changes. Back in the browser. Now you can see active color, and in this position our website is complete. If you like this video, please subscribe our channel.